Hey there, and welcome to doing details on market stalls. And first up, we've got the simple front, complicated back building. And I'm just going to start installing the interior for this one. As you can see, I've got all the pieces already made up. So we've got an internal panel for blocking off the bit to go in the middle to cover the circle in the middle of the CD, which I've made to look kind of like a hatch. Here we have like your comlog interfaces and cashier till, where it shows the price for something if somebody had rung it up through a till, which I'm going to assume is all kind of done through a comlog, but then there's a comlog scanning point. And here we have a set of shelves, and here we have another set of shelves. So I'll just go through this and show you how I'm making everything, and then I'll put it together so you can see what it looks like. Here we have shelving unit number 1. These are offcuts from the central tower. And this is all about using offcuts. All of these shelves are offcuts from one building or another. I think some of them are even from the hard blocks. But and you can see I've already marked up the lines for. These are the top lines for the shelves. So if you have a shelf fitting into one of these, it will fit so that that's the top line. You'll notice I've already beveled the shelves, and that's just so that they look narrower than they are, because I didn't want the 3mm depth. It would make them look like effectively, like a 6-inch slab of wood or something, which would be a bit ridiculous. So first up, I'm just going to assemble this one, and I'll show you what it looks like assembled. I'll note that just on there's this one shelf which has been made shorter than the rest, and that's so that it fits neatly here with only the beveled edge projecting. Here is the other shelving unit then, and this one was built slightly differently. Instead of using the deep pieces, I'm just using these rungs. This is kind of a little bit more decorative. I don't really want it to take up space in the room, whereas the other one is actually to provide line of sight blocking terrain between the door and the exterior on one side of the building. And I'll show you that all in the end when I show you everything all assembled. So I'll just go and get it assembled. I'll be back in a second with the floor stopper. So here is the floor stopper then, and I'm calling it the floor stopper. It's just a thing because this is built on a CD, right? I needed something to cover the hole, so I've made this. And as you can see, I've kind of etched into it. So this is a really thin piece of plastic, and I've etched it on this side. But I'm actually going to place it this side up, so you have all of the raised bits. The way you etch becomes raised on the back, so I mean it doesn't look horrific from that side. But by flipping it over, everything that I've etched becomes raised, and so you get this what's the words? Words are gone. Like ridges rather than cracks. And also, especially on the bottom here, these little details, it kind of gives you the appearances of the hinge mechanism. And this is all done again just using an allspike to etch through it. And this also means that by the time it's actually glued and it lies flat, it'll end up looking like a hatch in the floor. Or that's kind of my intention. I'll get it glued into place, and then you can make your own mind up as to whether it actually looks like a hatch in the floor or whether it looks rubbish. So I'll catch you in a mo with the finished building. I'll go through and have a look at all the little details that have been put in. These pieces here are a couple of additional pieces. Again, they're just offcuts that I've dug through and found which fit the job. And I'm using these to build a platform in behind the front of the market stall's counter so that it raises it up a little bit, because having tested these with minis, they are ever so slightly too high, but I like them high because it suits my purposes for sort of game reasons, for cover. Also, in something like this, for me, in my mind anyway, I quite like the idea of high storefronts so that people are stood behind them operating tills, and also people would be sat in front of them on high stools rather than, like cafe bar stools or what have you, where you have the high stemmed spinny roundy stool type affair going on. So this will sit in behind the counter just to raise up the miniatures so that they don't look ridiculous when behind the counter. And this is specifically using older miniatures, the true 25s rather than the current 28s, and it means that it comes sort of just lower than chest. The counter will become just lower than chest height when they're stood behind it, but when you put the new miniatures behind them, it won't like suddenly only be around their knees. So there's a balance to be struck with all these things, and ultimately you can only really find out what that is when you put miniatures in. I would say my normal wall height, in order to take into account depth of base as well as height of miniature, is about 22 mil, and that facilitates both heights of miniature, although do take into account that fortunately the silhouette system is in use, so as long as you make your walls match with the silhouette profiles so that you can guarantee your 50% cover or 50% concealment from a low wall, and then make any other walls higher, which are higher, sufficiently tall to cover most things. Or you could even go, oh, I want a wall which is the size of half a tag or what have you, but all that stuff is up to you. So that's just my kind of approach to dealing with these things. Here we have it then. The interior of the shop is all finished and assembled. So on the left here we have the single panel, which was for just blocking off this wall, so you can now fit in behind here and block line of sight from over here. So over there, I'm pointing this direction. So if someone's coming in from seeing from over here, you can hide from them entirely, especially in terms of sort of snipes and stuff. Decided this would be a feature that I would like to have, so that you could come in through the back door here, dash over behind here to avoid a sniper that's shooting from over in this direction. We've got our sort of cash points as such for paying. So these are just a tiny square where I've used the tip of a biro, which is got a retractable nib, and then used the circle of that just to press into a tiny little square of the PAL light, and that then has left us sort of a raised circular nodule. Don't know what word to use for that really, but I'll paint that so it's luminous, so it's where you swipe your com log to pay, and then behind it there's just effectively the till, but it's not really a till, it's just a box which I'll paint black and paint like 000, 0000, yeah, 4 zeros in sort of digital style lettering, just so that you can see that it would normally say, oh, the price of X is Y, or the price of this product is whatever. And so that's your sort of cash till readout monitor screen. And then there's 2 checkout points, so 2 people could be working in this market stall. And then we see why we're assembling these before putting in. So these, if I can think of the word, shelves, yeah, see? English, I do know it. They're pre-assembled with the short battens or the not deep battens, and it's because they just want to sit on this back wall, and they're really purely decorative. They're not meant to be functional. They're just to flesh it out a bit. Now obviously this isn't entirely fleshed out, because if this was my marketplace or my market stall, this space in behind this wall would actually, I'd fill it with shelves. You would need storage, and then I would also fit shelves in underneath the counter, but that's kind of by the by. Now this is the reason also you can see this shelf unit on the right here. This is built this way because it comes out, it blocks line of sight to the doorway. So if you do open the doorway, you can run directly in behind it, and again you can be concealed from direct front of view. So I'm just going to grab a couple of minis and I'll chuck them in the space so you can kind of see a little bit of how the cover functions now that it's been changed. Here we have it, a Couragedor strike team infiltrates through the building, and you can get an idea of the cover. And if I just push the sniper back, flush the wall, as you can see just inside there you could actually have complete cover from most of the exterior, unless you were coming from this kind of angle, in which case you can then see in, but he's still got partial cover, so that will give you an advantage. And I'm just doing this in order to give the buildings a bit of extra facility for the close quarters firefights that you tend to get, rather than the sort of melee combat orientated fights of other games. And this facilitates that. So I hope it's been some interest to you and use to you, and that you think that this is a a pretty cool interior for a building, and that is this one complete and all ready for painting. So I hope this has been some use, interest to you, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one and take care. Bye bye.